So, from my office this time, just for a change of scenery. Um, this is the first time in a long time that I didn't have a planned thing that I was going to share, and I was kind of going back and forth, I guess, with the Lord, and of ideas of things that I could share, the next thing I could share, and I thought about sharing, like, just my supernatural experiences I've had, like typically during sleep. I had a real sleep paralysis thing that happened that was like, gosh, like 10 or 15 years of my life. It seemed like it was just all of my life, but I haven't had it in a while, a couple of years actually. Which I might do. I might still do that. And then I was thinking of just some other things like, just how I view myself in God's eyes. And I don't even know if that's any of that's accurate, but um, just kind of how I conceptualize myself, our relationship or whatever, and which I don't even know if that would be interesting to anyone besides me. And then I thought of this thing that I'm probably going to share right now. And I don't know if I'm going to upload this or not. I kind of feel the Holy Spirit, so that's kind of scary. But it's kind of a controversial idea. And I guess I'm just sort of adding my 2 cents to what I feel like should be a conversation and not an open and shut case. This is what you should do in all cases. So depending on what I title this video, you probably already know what I'm about to say, but I just want to talk about converting spouses, which I'm not going to sit here and say that not going to give myself complete credit for my husband being a Christian, but he wasn't a Christian when we met, and he's one now. And that's also affected other people in his family who have become Christians. And I think for me, just understanding how my life is and how I am, I have a heart for people who are lost, but I can't say that I always have the patience for lost people. like just strangers on the street, or coming across people who are viscerally not responsive to God or anything about God. I have a physical response to that. I absolutely it doesn't fire me up. It doesn't make me want to engage them. It makes me want to run the other way. And it's kind of always been like that. I mean, could you say repulsed? Loosely. Typically, it doesn't really get to that point. Most people, don't even care that I'm there anyways. But, most interactions that I have, with people in the outside world are neutral. And I think early on, I had a lot of early experiences with just people out in the world that were positive, that sort of cushioned that feeling. And I understand that it's not a matter of, I think in the beginning I thought, oh, I'm young, I'm sheltered, and this is why, and I just need to get out in the world. And I sort of kind of tried to force myself to not have this reaction anymore. And it didn't really do much to it. I mean, it's still the same thing. I just don't, I don't get it. I'm literally snobby about it, in a way. I think I'm just how do you not like Jesus? And I'm just looking down like that with my nose up and my eyes down. I really just don't get what your deal is. I don't. But to me, it's more of like, it's because it's an obvious thing. It's not like this elitist, like, oh, you don't understand the, you know, it's like, no, this is a simple thing. It's like, it's like when people in a joking way, joke about, which by the way is a pet peeve of mine. When people, especially when we're shunning all controversial topics, and then you're like, by the way, if you didn't like this movie, like I will strangle you on sight, and then everybody laughs. Like I'm like, let's talk about something real that matters. Like, why can't you have a strong stance on something that matters? Like Jesus, it's like, well, we have to be sensitive to everyone's, whatever. But if you didn't like the last season of Game of Thrones, then I will stab you. Like I really hate that. I hate that combination a lot. What was I talking about? So, yeah, so the fact that I have that natural sort of, I don't want to use I won't say aversion, that's really strong. I guess, I have a natural aversion to people who don't, like God. And then I meet this guy who's not a Christian. But at the same time, it's not like he was like a militant atheist. It's not even like he was a little, you know, he responded to things, when I asked to pray for him, when we first met, and he was really, honored by that, and he liked that, and he thought that was sweet. So it's like, my thing is this: if you meet a guy, I don't know if it's a lot of guys doing this. I'm sure there's a good percentage, but it seems largely to be the women, and the women who are sort of getting the lectures about it. And from a woman who did this, um, my feeling on it is that um, if you suddenly feel a draw to a person that isn't saved, and it's hard to tell, of course. It's hard to tell. I'm assuming that, if you meet somebody and you feel like, oh, God wants me to do da 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 da, and it's like you really just like his abs and he's not for you at all, and you're just ignoring that because he drives a whatever, and you're like, oh, but God wants me to reach him. Like, I can't get all into your heart and know if that's genuine or not. But that definitely wasn't really the case for me. I just know, and this was, after we were in a relationship, and pretty much at that point, I'm constantly going, okay, what am I supposed to do? What do I, and sort of God not sending me any like flashing signs or anything. And I'm like, dude, I'm really, really genuinely asking. I will genuinely do whatever you want me to do. And he really was just having me go by my compass and just would not chip in at all and give me a blatant answer either way. And what I felt was this almost like bottomless energy to do what I knew was going to be a really tough job. Like, I knew it was going to be, I wasn't under any illusions. Like, my husband is younger than me. He had a lot of hot mess stuff going on in his life that, to call it red flag is like, is there anything bigger than a flag? Like, I don't even know. It was just a big blanket, red blanket maybe. But when I like searched in my insides, and I just was like, okay, I'm going to be a blank slate right now. Which way should I go? And like, I really just remember feeling before I knew about anything that was going to happen to me. Just like before we went down any type of path, any real path, I remember feeling like I could do this forever. Like I just had a bottomless resilience to do whatever I needed to do. Was it optimism and all types of like naivete and all that stuff? I'm sure. But 10 years later, I know it's that same resource. That wasn't an illusion. I was really drawing on that, and I really used that. And thank God that I did, because, um, it got bad and hard and like super hard. Um, but like it was miraculously, it was a miraculous marathon. Like you can't run a marathon for years. So when you see somebody that does that, you could call them crazy, or you could have to acknowledge at a certain point, like, okay, there's something miraculous going on. Um, so I definitely feel like, well, and also like as we were going on the journey, which I hate when people use journey like more than 5 times when they're talking about their life. It's like, okay, so you're just into some real sketch stuff if everything's a journey. Like you can't even not describe it any other way. So anyway, on our journey, we met a lot of people in a similar place to us. And I don't know if God put those people on our path or if they just told us that, to make us feel better, or they felt like they could admit. We met pastors and people that are like, listen, when I met her, I was doing such and such. And, we met people that have been in a similar boat. And aside from that, just when you look at history and just looking at your parents and your grandparents and your aunties and whatever, it's pretty common for, to marry someone and have the spouse sort of usher you into the kingdom. I mean, even people who, had stable marriages, but they just, they were of two different belief systems at the time. And, the mom went to church and took the kids to church in the morning, and dad stayed at the house because he just wasn't into it. And over time, maybe it was completely stable and great, but like over time, that wife won that husband. And to be honest, I think it's probably one of the most common ways of conversion and common ways of getting people into the kingdom that there is on the earth. I'll be honest. I think if you find out that like 45% of all people that are in heaven because of that, it wouldn't surprise me at all. So I think that, upon reflecting, I think that God knew that, evangelism probably wasn't for me, but that He could send me one person and that I was going to do that job. Because even the stuff that He needed from a person, from a spouse, from a, just all around, from a believer, from a friend, from a spouse, from a person, another person, like I had all of those things. And it was like, okay, it was like I felt equipped. I felt equipped. And even years and years later, when I was like, I was completely delusional. I can't believe I fell for this, blah, blah, blah. And then you get back on the train. It's like, no, this is actually working out. And then you get off the train. You're like, this is ridiculous. I can't believe this is so embarrassing. And then you get back on the train. You're like, oh my gosh, God ordained this, which you're going to do because you're a human. And I might have 5 more to go. Who knows? I don't know. But, each time you come back and each time you can look back and you see a pattern, it solidifies more and more like, oh, this is what God wanted. And so I think actually, even now, I wouldn't even say that I would go back and forth anymore. I think it, if something happened and everything just completely blew up and we whatever, like I accomplished what I was supposed to accomplish. I did what I was supposed to do. Like I wouldn't even feel like there's no pressure for us to just be successful, and have everything go right for the rest of our lives to prove that, the way that we got together wasn't the hot mess everybody thought it was. It's like, I don't need to do that anymore. I know that I did what I was supposed to do, and there's three people here that wouldn't be here and all that stuff. But without trying being any more cryptic than I already am, because you literally don't know anything about my past, probably. I mean, even if you're somebody who knows me, you probably don't know that much about our marriage. But like, I recommend if you're in a relationship with a guy, and he's not a Christian, but he's not non-responsive to the things of God. And I know there's a lot of wild. Uh, there's a lot of wild things out there. There's a lot of men who are just straight up lying to you for like 6 whole years, and then they just like get tired of doing that and then tell you the truth. There's all types of weirdness out there. But trying to avoid that is like, I don't know if you noticed, but this is like one out of every two people's lives. Like you get into a relationship and you're trying to avoid and you're trying to stave off marriage so that you can avoid the I can't think of anything worse than like not getting married and then spending like 7 whole years with a person. Getting with them when you're 20 and now you're in 30 and now you have nothing from that. But that's just me. Um, I would say do it, because if you really feel, if you're in the right space, um, I'm not saying it should work out. I'm just saying like you gotta just put one foot in front of the other and think about your motives and why you're doing it. Are you really doing it for the right reasons? Are you doing it for love? And I do mean love. If you're doing it in love, perfect love casts out all fear. And I'm not saying like, you know, that we can even reach a state of perfect love, but a lot of what the world thinks is abuse and you're getting less than what you deserve, X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, well, Jesus came down and carried a cross and got beaten to smithereens, and he got a lot less than what he deserved. What bearing does that have to do with his purpose being fulfilled? So you can't just go by, well, are you giving me my wage? Are you giving me the exact amount of that? Is this going to be an equal, fair distribution of whatever? And it's like, you're going to kill yourself trying to do that. Um, so um, I would say that if you have a heart for someone, and especially when you're young, because you have that enthusiasm and you have that naivete, listen, don't get rid of that naivete. That's what's going to carry you through and get you to do some hard stuff and that you've never done, and try some things. So maybe afterwards you're like, yeah, I'm never doing that again, but you've done it. It's one of the best motivators. I mean, I guess I'm just a lazy person, so I'm just like, anything that ever motivated me to do something that I would never do in my life, I'm like, yo, that's great. Because without that, I would never have done X, Y, and Z. So I'm always impressed with anything that brings me some results. So yeah, naivete is great. This is why we should be getting married young, and we should be getting married to the first people that we, have sex with. Just a little side thing, sidebar, because right now you're just wasting all of your energy and all of your enthusiasm on, and then leaving those people. It's like everyone on earth is going to need some love if this thing's going to function right at all. So just pick a person. Just pick the person. Oh, the right person for me is like, this isn't a target. Like, you're talking about people who have to be raised in families and make sacrifices for their family that you or yourself are not willing to do to make this great person that you feel like you now deserve. Like, get a grip on reality. Find a person, pick them, marry them, and I'm not saying like we can't wear. It's never going to go back to that. I mean, that's just. I'm just letting you know that what we gave up, which was the backbone of society, for freedom. But what it really is just wasting, 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 wasting until you have nothing left, and then you have to uh, just sort of. I mean, there's always going to be a sliver of people, a fraction of people that are going to get lucky every time and make it seem like it works. So you just got to keep getting out there and doing it because it works. 25% of all people are always going to, hit the jackpot, whatever we're doing in life. Whether we're marrying young, they're going to hit the jackpot. Whether it's free for all and do whatever, they're going to hit the jackpot. So you can't, we can't go by those people. We have to go by the majority of the 75% of us are just out here and we just need people to love us. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I've got something in the oven. Can I pause this? I think I can. Okay. Anyway, I checked on my things, not done. So anyway, I just spent 20 minutes basically saying like, if you're a believer, and you're wondering if you should marry that man, marry that woman, I'm going to go ahead and put my 2 cents in and say, yeah. The other nine out of 10 people are going to tell you absolutely not, never, are you sure? Oh my God. This is the worst thing you could ever possibly do. The trajectory of your life, X, Y, and Z. And I'm going to say, God is big and just do it. And maybe you might be the only God they ever get, the only church they ever get. Or you might be able to win them over. But if you feel a bottomless energy to do that job, no matter what they choose, you just feel like you can love them unconditionally, and God gives you that. That's no small thing. That's not just butterflies. That may not just be puppy love. That could be God giving you the energy to carry a burden. Because I was able to do something that I've never been able to do in my life otherwise, and I don't think it's an accident. And time will tell. But I think that it's pretty common. And back in the day, they just called it marriage. It happened all the time. And, in the 1900s, it was probably a little harder to tell like who wasn't a Christian and who was, because it was a Christian society. But I guarantee you, it happened a lot. And, we can look back and be cynical and retrospective and say, oh, well, look, it was just abusive and this happened and that happened. But it's like, well, you're here because they did that. Which is another overlooked thing that, I could rant all day about that. But it's just like the case against marriage is like, look at all of these abusive situations that these women stayed in, and they were made to stay in them. It's like, yeah, it's like they should have got divorced. My parents should have just got divorced. It was so awful. It's like you benefited from their sacrifice. And, yeah, likely they had the right idea, but yes, you're right. It's who knows what could have been. No one knows what could have been. That's the disadvantage of being one person going down a life path. You don't get to see what your other life path could have been. Who knows what could have been? But by and large, um, we take for granted the nothing happened miracle, which is my favorite miracle. Nothing happened. The car accident did not happen, and your life went on as usual, and all your days were mundane. So people get mad about something that didn't happen, and especially when you see like people doing the opposite now, and it's just, I mean, I don't know. Can you tell that it's just a complete disaster, hot mess disaster? Um, and even you say, well, it could, if you want to defend it either way, then it's like, okay, fine, then either way, then it doesn't matter. Then stop treating one decision better than the other and just let people do what they feel like they should do. You should just definitely do what will make you not have regrets later. But don't tell people like it should either be this or that because you don't know. And God can do anything. So I hope that wasn't just vague beyond all comprehension. I'm probably just going to play this back and see if I want to post it. So, all right, that's enough for today. Bye. Sorry, me and my daughter do that all the time. So I'm just like, bye.